maintaining boundaries and dancing with this within the context of a relationship. So share with us your thoughts about that, if you would.
Yeah. So there's this concept, there's two pieces to it, and I'll throw it out here like this. It's learning how to give men the green light while simultaneously holding your boundaries to a very high regard within yourself. So there's a play of opposites happening here that creates a concoction of really just magnetism. Because if you're just giving a guy the green light, you may end up coming off as desperate, or you may end up compromising yourself, or you may end up in this box of relationship at all costs, maybe sleeping with a man too quickly, possibly chasing him, right? So the green light is, if it's blown up too much, this is what it can end up looking like. Now, if you've got too many boundaries and you don't have any green light at all, you're going to be inaccessible. You'll be impenetrable. In fact, the man's experience when he's around you, if you've got too many locked up boundaries without any green light, is you're not really available for a relationship. You're not really available for this man to come in and love you. And what his experience will be then is one of, I feel that even trying to be with this woman, there's a sense of inadequacy that comes up within me because I don't even know if I'm good enough to be with her. So the balance here, the dance is being able to give the green light and maintain your own boundaries. So there's an openness while also a connected to your values happening simultaneously. Now, the openness, and I'll give you an example here. I've often found that many of the women that I've worked with that have a really hard time flirting with sexual energy and being able to play with it and being able to dance in the conversation with a guy and really allow that to build and just own the desire and have it go into like really wonderful, beautiful directions are the ones that actually have a really hard time with boundaries. They have a really hard time. They don't really know what their boundaries are. And so what happens, it creates this sense of insecurity within them. So they feel locked up and they feel very afraid of putting themselves in situations with guys where maybe the conversation turns sexual or where maybe he might be advancing because they don't really know where they stand. And so the more a woman can get solid with her boundaries around perhaps when she is going to sleep with a guy, around how she wants to be talked to, around, and now this is not just with him, but it's even in her life. What are the foods that you're putting into your body? What does your workout schedule look like? Do you have boundaries around your free time, right? How are you living a balanced life and how are those boundaries serving you there? That security, that knowledge of self actually then allows you to be in conversation with men and with much more relaxedness and playfulness, being able to give the green light and play with the energy and flirt and charm and have a great time with him that is co-creative rather than restricted and shut down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is a really important idea. And I think there's a lot of confusion and a lot of challenge around this because I don't know if a lot of women have the clear definition around some of these questions that you put out there. When they feel comfortable sleeping with a guy, when they want to allow things to progress in that way, and how to express themselves or navigate that and let someone know that. So that's actually a question, since I brought that up, that I'd like to ask you. First of all, there's two questions here. How does a woman get deeper clarity around their boundaries? And then the second question would be, can you model or give an example of how a woman can express in a way that a man could hear her feelings or her desires and be more likely to respond to it if he's wanting to move things faster than she?
Beautiful. Okay. I love that you put me on the spot there. I'm going to start with the second question first, and I'm going to go back to the first one. Okay. So the second one being, can I model what a conversation might look like where a woman is able to express her boundaries in a way to a guy if he's wanting to advance things sexually? So one way of doing that would be to realize that you're, number one, you're dealing with a human being who is attracted to you. And that in and of itself is flattering. And that is special. And that doesn't mean that you have to give into it. But it could be something to the effect of, listen, I'm really attracted to you as well. So say that he advances. It could be like, say, listen, I want to slow down here. I'm really attracted to you as well. And one of the things that I hold myself to is I really want to feel connected to you before we proceed any further. And I think it's just going to take me a little bit more time, but I really can't wait to get to know you and to continue to hang out. So it's really giving him a compliment, and it's honoring yourself, and it's not throwing up some major block where it's saying, God, what kind of person do you think I am? Is that all you want me for? I knew that you just wanted me for sex, or to shut down and feel like insulted by the guy's sexual advance. It's more like, I'm going to catch your sexual advance in my hands, and I'm going to honor that it's there and say, wow, this is special. Thank you. I actually feel the same way too. And I'd like to slow down because I want to feel more connected with you. And I know that it's just going to take a little bit more time, and I can't wait for us to get more connected, or I can't wait to continue to see you. Right. And that allows the man to see like, oh, wow, my masculine desire did not just get thwarted and shut down and blocked by a brick wall, but rather she received me, and then she redirected, acknowledged it. And now we're almost on the same team building something together. And see, when you approach it that way too, you get to see what kind of man he is. How does he respond to that boundary, right? That's set in a way where you're not triggered, where you're not something emotionally reacting to it, but rather you're gently redirecting it. How does he handle your authentic truth there? Does he regress into a child and try to blame you, which will tell you a lot about him? Does he become a gentleman and right there in the moment handle it with grace and respect and continue to hang out with you? So these are all learning opportunities, right? So if a man is advancing and you're feeling like you want to move things slower, what a beautiful opportunity to express things that way and learn more about him, to really see whether or not you want to hang out with him and build something.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I love that response. I think that was so beautiful. And I think that it's so important to recognize the compassion for another human being who is attracted to you, and to honor that in this way. And I think that by doing this with some sensitivity and with some kindness, it can really, like you said, let you know so much more about a man, and it can still be very honoring to yourself as a woman. And I think one thing that happens often, and I feel badly about this, is that women sometimes get like upset and blame and shame men for having those sexual desires. I mean, that happens a lot. And of course, I'm not talking about, anything that's not consensual or, rape or sexual violence when I refer to this. I mean, that's obviously in a whole category on its own. And we're not talking about that specifically today. But in the context of a healthy dating relationship, it's so important to handle these topics with, like the way you modeled it, with some compassion and with some kindness, and with honoring that other person as well as honoring yourself and your own boundaries.
Well said.
Yeah.
Well said.
I think that was really well modeled. And I just, I do think that the way you started that out, where you're sharing, if you are attracted to the man but you're not ready yet to get more intimate or sexually involved, to let him know that you're attracted to him.
Yeah. Right. That doesn't mean that you have to sleep with him right there. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because I think most good men are willing to go the distance and continue to explore the relationship opportunity if they know that the woman, is also interested in them.
And that's an example right there of giving the green light while maintaining boundaries.
Exactly.
Right? The green light there is still saying, hey, we're still the intersection is the road is clear. I want to go through this, but just let's take it a little bit slower, because there's certain things that I need to feel. There's certain things that I would like to honor with myself before we go that road, right? Rather than just a massive red light with the railroad guards coming down to block all advances.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think also in this Me Too era and things like that, I think men need a green light in a lot of situations. I think some men are probably kind of gun shy in certain situations with women. And so I think that can be really important. Can I ask you one other question about this green light idea?
Yeah, please.
So I know there's a lot of confusion out there in terms of women kind of making the first move. And I think women making the first move in terms of maybe asking a man out or that sort of thing might be different than what we're talking about in terms of green light. But how do women give the green light in situations like if they'd want a man to ask her out, but he maybe hasn't gotten around to it, whether she's interacting with him online or in person? Do you have any ideas for that?
Mm-hmm. So we're talking about text message possibly,
yeah,
or
it could
over
be
Messenger or something like that.
Or over a dating app or site, or even in person. How does a woman green light and let a man know she would be open to him asking her out without going right to the asking him out? I think most women would still prefer that if they had the choice.
Yeah. Okay. So just what comes to mind is make it easy for the guy to set it up so he can knock it down. Okay. Set it up so he can find it. What I mean when I say that is if you're in conversation with the guy, let him know what you like doing. Let him know restaurants that you want to go to. Let him know experiences. I mean, these are things that you can drop in subtly, things that you would love to do. And it could be that you ask him that question first, something about his passions, something of maybe perhaps that is on the bucket list for him within the current city that you're living in, and then share yours. So give him these ideas, give him this ammunition to where he's not wondering, okay, if I ask her on a date, is it going to be good enough, or am I going to get rejected by her? You've given him some insight into the things that you want to do perhaps around the city. And now all he's got to do is just simply ask. And it's doing some of the work for him, but you're not declawing him or stepping too far into the masculine polarity and initiating, but you're setting it up and allowing him then to almost kind of grab the low hanging fruit. And you're giving him ideas indirectly, you're feeding him ideas indirectly. So he has that part of it done for him. So all he's got to do is just step forward and ask. Mm-hmm. So that's one way I would imagine giving the green light in that scenario.
Mm-hmm. So an example of that might be something like if you're in conversation online or in person saying, what are your favorite restaurants in the city, or what's your favorite international cuisine? And then ask what's your favorite Indian restaurant or Italian restaurant or whatever he said.
What's one or two things you really want to do in the city? Like if you only had 5 days left in the city, what are one or two things you'd absolutely have to do before you left that you haven't done yet? And then he might say something, and if one of those things is great, be like, oh my God, I would love to do that at some point. I would love to do that sometime. Mm-hmm. And then here's what mine are. I would love to do this. At that point, it's open, right? It's open. I mean, there's ideas there percolating. All he's got to do is say, hey, all right, here's the date, here's the time. The ideas, you guys have a shared reality around what both of you are connected to, around what you both want to do. And now it's just a matter of him being able to make that invitation, rather than suddenly have to sit in the back and be like, well, I don't even know what she likes. I don't really know whether she might say no because she doesn't want to do that. She might say no because she doesn't like me. You're answering some of these questions in his mind already, because you're making it easy for him to then be able to initiate.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So really we're creating an opening. We're creating that opening and setting him up to know how to be successful.
Exactly.